Welcome back to Reps and Real Talk, the podcast where we're breaking down the real life hustle behind strength and conditioning. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that every coach uses, but not always that strategically, and that's social media. Myself and co-host Justin Ray are unpacking the good, the bad, and the downright ugly sides of building your presence online as an S&C coach. From growing your platform and sharing quality content, to avoiding the common pitfalls and the noise that comes along with it, we're talking about how to use social media as a tool and not to be a distraction, and hopefully to enhance your career. So stick around until the end of the episode because you might learn a thing or two about social media, and we'll see you once we get into it. Yo boss, how we doing? We're back for another episode.
What up, boss? How we doing?
I'm great. We've got a nice little episode today, right? With social media, how it's important for strength and conditioning. So good little topic, current topic. But before we get into it, let's do our usual little catch up. How's your week been?
So far, so good, man. We're having a solid week. Of course, here we go with the NIL train, seeing new kids on campus. But life's all good. I have no complaints over here, man. How about yourself?
Love that. Things are good. Completed my first 100-day cutting challenge, which was fun. Lost about 16 pounds, so I'm now going to do another 100 days, which will kind of... this one will be a little bit more flexible just because of some of the events that we've got coming up in the future, where we'll be binging out a little bit. But yeah, I'm trying to stay locked in. And then the aim is get up on stage, compete. I'm earmarking a show that's in October or early November. And so we'll see what happens there. Treat myself as an athlete for 1 year. Let's see what happens.
Great, man. That's great. You're on your way.
Right.
Very close.
Positive progress. And it's been patient progress as well. So nothing too crazy. And so kind of funny that actually ties into the social media theme a little bit, because I did for the first time ever post progress photos, which I've never done that in my life. I've never been one to want the attention or anything like that, but actually became one of my most engaged posts. So it's kind of ironic in terms of once you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, that the power of social media and the engagement and stuff like that comes through. It was one of those. So if listeners, you haven't seen that progress, go and check it out, because I'm definitely proud of where I'm at, but there's still a little bit of work to go with that. So with that in mind, let's talk about social media. Let's start locking in. We'll start with you, Justin, in terms of how has your kind of use of social media changed? Because I'll talk from my behalf. I remember when social media was MSN Messenger and Facebook, and now it's crazy, right? We've got all these different apps, all these different platforms. So how's it changed for you?
I mean, for me, Instagram is the main social media platform that I use. It's the only one, probably. I think for me, I was very reserved and just kind of almost not embarrassed, but you'll get criticism if you post certain things and if it's not perfect and all these little things that really don't matter. Once you get to the where you're posting it for fun and enjoyment and education, I think that's where I'm having fun with it. It's fun for me. And I'm actually enjoying, looking forward to posting new topics, because then I do a little bit more research on that topic, looking forward to new exercises, progressions, regressions. So for me, it's actually been a positive in the last, I would say, not even a year. I would say last 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
I've been really following through, and lately I've been really consistent with it. So,
and you've transitioned to kind of your account a little bit, where you're definitely posting a lot more in terms of the professional side of things versus kind of the personal side of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I deactivated my personal account, and I just wanted to solely focus on my strength and conditioning. Look at who am I outside of my personal life and my professional field. So, and I kind of like that. I started from square one, started from zero, and almost at 500, man. So I'm making my
growing. Way. You're growing.
So, now for you, how's that changed?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because most of my presence used to be on Twitter, which is now called X, and I don't really post on there anymore. But that's where a lot of the strength and conditioning discussions used to be, as I kind of remember growing through the field early career. And then, like you said, Instagram, I never really used Instagram other than for like personal stuff up until last year. So similar to yourself, created a new professional account, grown that. Again, I think we are at like 1.3k following, so not the hugest following in the world, but that's like a third of the way of what I got on Twitter over half the amount of time. I think Twitter, I was active for about 5-6 years and grew a following then, but then that fell off. But I've kind of kept both accounts because I feel like I've got so much going on the personal account,
Yeah.
although I don't post as much.
In your defense, I feel like the social media has grown since like you've been posting on Twitter, and now Instagram
Right.
is really becoming like social media itself is just becoming so involved in our daily lives, right?
And it's the video engagement and like people, that personability of video. It's kind of like the memes, right? Of probably showing my age here, but like the Gen Z, where it's like you ask them, answer the telephone, and they'll like go like this, right? And it's like I'd go like this, you know?
I still do that.
Right. So it's kind of like the generational gap and switch. But obviously, social media grown. What I have done is I've actually started using TikTok as a bit more of like a professional, but more my personal training, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit more insight into my training. And you kind of mentioned about like the fun of taking videos and stuff. Like now I'm actually using it a bit more of an accountability thing to stay locked in. Because then I know that like, all right, I'm not skipping the gym today because I want to record this, and this so that I can show my accountability through my 100-day journey. And so, like I said, I'm now doing another 100 days. So it's a way of staying accountable. Whereas I'm trying to keep Instagram a little bit more S&C, professional, some sports science stuff. So keep posting and then we keep growing, right?
Yeah, I think that's where the first step is, right? You have to find a joy in doing it because it could be a pain. It really could be.
Right.
And if you're not enjoying it, you're overthinking it, then you're never going to do it. So you got to find ways that's going to make it enjoying for, not for you, but for everybody. Just be open to share. That's really all
For
it is.
sure. The like I'll see like a bunch of different people posting on TikTok around this subject. If you're in the gym and you feel like you want to record some content, just do it. It's a liberating feeling because like I feel in our setting where it's like your own performance setting, you're in a basketball weight room wherever you're at. Nobody's watching you when you're recording, do you know what I mean? Public setting, I feel like there was kind of like at first when I started recording, I was like, oh shit, people are gonna judge me, they're gonna like think that I'm doing something crazy. But actually nobody really gives a shit. Most people are pretty respectful, and like I had a person actually today walk awkwardly around the camera because I set up the camera where I did, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And they're like, no, you do your thing. It's kind of become conventional now and accepted. But that's the fun of it. Like it's keeping me super locked in, so that's why I like doing it.
Yeah, it's an accountability piece, right? So you're able to see those things and your progressions, and it's documented, right?
Exactly. And that kind of like leads us like into that like next topic point that we were discussing before we jumped on, in terms of the online resume, kind of the social media presence, the not only accountability piece, but like a little insight into you. So how do you feel about like social media kind of being the online resume and stuff?
I honestly love it. I think if somebody like yourself recommends somebody to me, right, for a job, the first thing I'm going to do is get their name and type it in on Instagram, probably, right?
Yeah.
As frequently as I use the app and the platform, I think that's probably the first. What's the person look like? What do they do? How do they conduct themselves without me even having to meet them first? And for me, it's like your employers are watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your clients are watching. Your athletes are watching. So you better be able to just explain and walk the walk. That's how I feel. Like I like doing all these movements for basketball, along with being a meathead still a little bit. And that's who I am. Like that's what I like to do. But I'm also learning too.
For sure. And the thing with that as well, like the catch of that, you have to be kind of careful what you do post on social media sometimes as well, because it's like, I remember like sure you can put privacy settings on and things and only have people look at you, but if you've got your account public, you best to not have 6-7 reels in a row where you're getting blacked out drunk and stumbling over and falling and shit like that, you know what I mean? Because it is a professional representation of yourself. And as you said, if you're like trying to get hired for a job, like LinkedIn is supposed to be that platform for social media, right? The professional platform. And people will go there, but that's just a regurgitation of a resume, like an actual written resume. Like not many people it's growing, but like they're not treating it like they do Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms. So it's like, yeah, people are going to go there. They're going to get a sense of who you are and what you're about. So the advice there is don't post crazy shit, right? Unless you're going to back it up. Which,
yeah, like you got to have a feel for like what you're actually doing with your life, actually, right? Like don't be posting like your boy's batch party on there, and it's okay if cool like you're with your. It just depends on what the content is, right?
for sure. I mean, everybody has a life. Just don't do crazy shit,
Exactly.
right? Like if it's a bachelor party, I think you could get away with it. It's like you've got yours coming up soon. Do you know what I mean? There's gonna be something that gets out from that. Like one is gonna post something, but like at the end of the day, people live their lives. It's the consistency, I think, of like how your page looks. Every now and then, that's fine. But like if it's always like Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night, you're with the boys getting lit every single time, probably doesn't give that great of an image.
And also, nobody cares.
Yeah,
actually, nobody cares.
Right, like who are you trying to show?
But I do think it is a great way to showcase your philosophy, all the methods that you know, and just kind of tool around with new things too. Like, don't be afraid to you could show your mess ups, right? Bad form, why you're doing certain things. I think that's the positives in this, right? Because not everybody wants to post the most perfect thing. Like all of our athletes, no matter how good of a coach you are still not going to be able to RDL correctly, right? Over time, maybe you just drill it in, but like there's other ways to skin a cat, really, right? And it's just this is your story on how to execute certain things in your environment.
For sure. Actually, one of my favorite things is seeing other coaches where like they're focusing on that one perfect athlete, but in the background or the mirror reflection, you can see the 2 or 3 other athletes that are kind of doing it all fucked up. And it's like, put your phone down, stop recording them, go and coach that other person. Like, show us the progression there. You know?
Yeah, and usually I don't like to film in a large setting, right? It's going to be more of in a smaller group space, or the guys are kind of been through a couple sessions already, maybe and they're pretty right. They have adapted to the skill of what we're doing, and things are going to look much better as well.
Do you think that like that makes people lock in a little bit more? Because I kind of found with like particularly Penn athletes, they enjoyed that like I was recording. Because at first I'd be like, "You want me to record this?" And they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah!" Like, and then like I'm locked in. I'm doing my safety bar squat, whatever it is, hex bar deadlift, and like they like try hard. Do you think that like now is kind of the tool in coaching?
Yeah, I actually think it's a great form of being a tool in coaching, but like within certain means, right? Like I like the smaller groups where you're still able to coach and not worry about the phone so much. But if you know that the group you have is pretty well oriented in the exercise prescription and all that, I think it's absolutely who wouldn't want to be on video like doing certain things, right? Like it's more motivating, and then you could send it to them, and they could post. Because sometimes they like to see what they're doing in the weight room as well. So it's like
for sure.
It's a collaboration.
And they don't want to look shit. That's the other thing. So that'd be like the other tool that I would use is like, hey, look, this is where your form actually looks bad. And then they can see it. Because sometimes you can't feel it, right? And like you said, like there's coaches out there who have terrible RDL form when they personally do it. But when they coach it, they can be a really good coach. And it's because you just don't feel it sometimes or you don't see it. And that is kind of one of the other things why I do like recording my own videos is like I don't perfectly execute every single lift. And so I can kind of like do a bit of reflective practice and figure out, oh, okay, yeah, I was a little off there, or bench bar path, I was like way out in front. I should have been pushing up and back kind of thing. And like in the moment, it feels kind of fine, but then you review the video and then it helps you like refine your technique. So I'm definitely a bigger proponent now of recording, whereas before, I used to think that like I didn't want to put stuff on social media because people will steal my ideas. And then it's like reality check, and there's a couple of coaches out there, if they do listen to this, they'll know who they are. If you can coach it better than someone else, why do you care kind of thing? So it's like
I don't know who I exactly heard this from, but if it's new, it's old, man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like everybody's done it already. If you're that guy that thinks you're coming up with the brand new shiny toy, you haven't really.
For sure.
Let's be real.
I mean,
you may be super creative, but like, come on.
Which Actually, that's a good thing to like talk about, I think, is like, do we think that right now social media is going a little bit over the top with trying to be creative? Like people are creating exercises for the sake of it. Like some of my athletes used to joke like, "Oh, Craig, you saw this on TikTok," type of thing. If it was like a little bit more abstract of like what we were trying to do, like an example that I'll give is the bar hang. We would do like hip flexor raises with kettlebells or mini bands and things like that. And oh, you've seen this on TikTok. Like, do you think that there's kind of like people feel the pressure to be over creative now to get like the hits and the engagement on social media?
I think so. And that comes with being inconsistent, though, right? I think the more consistent you are, and basics cool in our world, but to other people, it may be boring, right? But showing consistency and kind of like how you're doing things, learning the basics of things, that's not always the shiniest toy. So, right? So people are going out there and doing single leg RDL to a clean on a friggin' Bosu ball, like something crazy, which is unnecessary, right?
Right.
And some people might actually think that like that's awesome, and that's all power to you. But it's just not for me, and I'll just scroll past that and kind of. But I know some people, it really goes up their ass, really. You know, it's annoying, and people feel the need to. I never feel the need to comment anything negative though. I don't get that mad. Like I don't have that much time to say to John Doe that you're doing a horrible job. Like what else? I could be doing something else.
I wish I could say that sometimes I don't get reeled in, but like sometimes I definitely fall for the traps. And like I think a big one with that back in the day was Joel Seedman. I don't know if that guy like is genuinely doing it or if he's like kind of hoaxing everybody just to get the clicks, you know what I mean? Because it's like some of the shit where he's like wearing the headband and the fucking plate dangling from his neck, and then he's got belt squat, back squat. Like, there's no way he isn't trolling at this point. Do you know what I mean?
First of all, the setup itself, I'm already out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I'm all about like let's get right to it. You know, the setup is the most pain in the ass thing in a weight room, right? So to me, I'm like, that's just way too much for me, and I can't even focus.
Like if you're worried about like load and like you need more load, just buy a longer bar. The powerlifting bars that are out there, you can get more plates on, buy smaller plates, whatever you know what I'm saying. But anyway, let's segue a little bit away from Joel there. But what would you say kind of have been like some like influential things that you've done to improve your own coaching practice with social media?
That's a pretty loaded question. I feel like influential. I think from just watching the really good strength and conditioning coaches out there, guys that I really really enjoy their content, the guys that post a lot too. There's a lot of great coaches that aren't posting, you know, and I wish they would, because like we all got to start doing this because it's going to just educate everybody, and it also gives people ideas. And sometimes, you know, this exercise isn't brand new, right? It could be creative and have been done, but not everything is, you know, that way. So I would say I get more of my inspiration from coaches like yourself, the Corey Schlesingers, Daniel Bove, to name a few of the basketball guys, Ramsey Nijam, Jesse Wright, like all the guys that I kind of like. I like the way they program. I've listened to some of their podcasts. I like the way they think and the way they talk about how training, you know, is for them and for their athletes, and how much they're like. If you listen to a podcast from Corey like a couple of years ago, he thinks completely different than he does now. So people are evolving, and if we're just stuck in the same things all the time, I just feel like it gets stale and it gets boring, and then we lose interest. So I think it's an awesome way to keep people engaged with new literature, right? The super smart guys that are really understand and how to apply those things. And that's why like Ramsey's awesome at that, like yourself, like incorporating the research papers and the application of that, right? The free stuff that you're able to get. And I don't think enough people are taking advantage of that information out there. We're so used to seeing like an influencer who is maybe just a fitness, or his body looks really good, a fitness
PT.
group. Yeah, somebody
Personal
who
trainer, PT, not a physical therapist.
Sure. So like I don't want to go on too long of a rant, but like those things I think are ways for me to. I like watching other people. I like learning from other people, and I keep an open mind. And yeah,
Well,
That's
it's come a long way since T Nation blog posts, right? Where you had to get your information there. Like now you can open up Instagram, and because I follow in a bunch of different S&C coaches, and you mentioned some great ones, right? The people who are like putting the content out, you have to find the right accounts, and sometimes it's also following the people that you might disagree with a little bit sometimes because they challenge your thoughts. But I think, like you mentioned, a couple of people, the thing I'll mention as well is that like there's accounts out there that don't really have like the big followings, right? Like they don't have the 20K, 50K followers, the influencer type following. Right, yeah, I'm up there as well.
nice.
But then like there's people like Chris Chase on Instagram, Memphis Grizzlies S&C coach, very low following, but like his content's golden. Like posts really good stuff, utilizes like machines, utilizes free weights, good S&C. I've spoke to Chris quite a few times, and I think he's a real respectable coach. But no one will really know his account because he's not as prolific of a poster. So there's kind of like this, like, I don't know what to call it, but like the better promoters seem to have the more followers, but they don't necessarily always have the best content. There are some big influencers, like right now I'm kind of on my bodybuilding kick, so I'm kind of following a bit more the bodybuilder side of things and getting some different ideas. And there's some like massive accounts where I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense like why they say what they say. But like sometimes those guys get it wrong as well. You mentioned about
I think we all do, to be honest, right?
yeah, like changing opinions, right? Like so you mentioned about Corey changing his philosophy. I mean, over the last 6 months, honestly, some of my training philosophy has changed as well. If I went back and started coaching basketball athletes full time again, like I probably would be programming a little bit different to what I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, sort of thing. So lending some ideas off social media, I think, has always been that like creative sprinkle that I've put into programs. But you always have to, I think, have your own set philosophy first. If you're just cherry picking different things from different people in social media, you've never created your own philosophy. You're just getting a bunch of different ideas, throwing them in. It's like it's the difference between a cook and a chef, right?
Yeah.
And a chef can go and just take those ingredients and really prepare a meal. A cook, they follow the recipe, right? So they've taken that exercise from that social media post and that other make, but they don't really understand why they're applying it. They just cook it, sort of thing.
Yeah. And that exercise you had this morning, or what you posted last night, that I did today, the safety bar, reverse safety bar,
Mm-hmm.
tremendous. And I'm all about, like, in my philosophy now, I want to feel good, right? Like, I
Right.
don't want my back feeling horrible after I back squat at 450 and, like, I just feel like a train wreck for the next couple of days. I'm getting older, man, right? So your training has to adapt as you age.
For sure.
You know what I
And
mean?
right now I'm doing a little bit more higher volume training,
Lighter.
especially, and I'm a lot lighter, yeah. And I need, again, barbell back squat for me. I'm not an anti back squat guy by any means. Safety bar feels a little bit better. It just honestly, my neck feels sore. My trap always feels like a little bit nerve tingly pain. I'll have like patella knee soreness from back squat. Not sure kind of like why, but then front squat, knees generally feel okay, but then I'm limited in terms of load because I have to hold a front rack position and then your wrists start hurting and I'm actually typing quite a lot these days, so like I need my fingers and hands to be operational post gym if I work out in the morning. So it's like that safety bar front rack for me is like the most comfortable squat. I can load it pretty heavily and it feels very good in terms of the groove and the depth that I can get. So it's a front squat with protection. So sure you could go and get like a pad or whatever, put it across a barbell and use a conventional barbell, but having that lower center of mass as well, I think helps a lot within the keeping your trunk upright, feeling it a little bit more in your
Absolutely.
quads and things like that. So
One,
it's
one
one of
other,
those exercises that I
yeah,
like a lot.
one other point on like exercise selection, I think working specifically in basketball, a lot of basketball strength and conditioning coaches can attest to this that we deal with like the tallest athletes, and sometimes those guys are even the shortest athletes, right? We have some small guards in the A10 that especially that I coached, right? So
Yeah.
like the variance of exercise selection that you have to have is pretty unique, right? So, and I think that's where a lot of these cool ideas come from, and that's why it's so social media driven, is because not everybody's doing the traditional back squat, traditional front squat. Like we're using a lot of dumbbells. Like there's a lot of safety bar, trap bar variations, Olympic variations, right? Like, I have a USAW certification. I don't Olympic lift anymore, right? I like to use derivatives of that, right? Like the trap bar and the dumbbells, landmine, right? Things that way. Like, I just want to feel better. And I think a lot of my biases are now given to the basketball athlete, which is, I think they still benefit from those things too as well.
Yeah, and that's honestly where I don't know where I stole it from, but where I saw the main benefit of that front rack hold was with bigs, because I'd have 7-footers that putting the bar on the back, they're just doing a trunk
Ugh,
good morning kind
looks
of thing.
horrible.
Right. Put them in the front rack, all of a sudden they've got like the squat depth of a friggin' a guard, and it's like, wait, what? Like, how did just changing the loading profile, like in terms of the point of load, change the mechanics so drastically within these guys who still have big femurs? So that's where I kind of like that exercise. And again, if I go back and ever program S&C again within basketball full time, I would be using that exercise pretty exclusively with the bigs. And the guards and everyone else can use it as well, but like the bigs, that's definitely a squat pattern that gets them in there. And then the other thought process, I was actually talking to somebody else who kind of replied to this post, is it's all about, right now, my mindset is all about adaptation. So I want exercises that target my quads a little bit better in a squat pattern. So I have options. I can go and hack squat, I can go and leg press, I can go pendulum squat, whatever I want. But in terms of free weight exercise, I'm probably going to say that one is the number one for me that's going to target quads more than any of the other free weight squats, unless you start doing split squat and stuff. But again, from a bilateral stance squat, front rack safety bar, that's got my like number one. I think they call it S tier exercises now, like the S tier, like superior tier. That's going in S tier for me.
Is that because of like experience, or
just it's just it's the best of both worlds. Loading profile, you can load it up higher than a front squat, and then it's more comfortable than my back squat. So I'm probably not getting the same amount of load as what I could probably back squat, just because of the anterior load of it. I'm gonna bail out. My core is probably going to be the thing that lets me down the most there. But at the same time, I can get more load than a front squat. So distributing that load anteriorly, so getting more quad involvement, because back squat, I get the big boys, right? My glutes are going to back me up in the back squat a lot more. That's why I'm putting it in it as a quad-based free weight squat. I think it's the best quad free weight. Now, machines, I think, target the quads a little bit better. And I think sometimes the power of social media, people hate on machines for no apparent reason. There's some big profiles out there, some old school S&C coaches where it's like machines aren't functional. And so that's also the downsides of social media sometimes, right? You get people with a very large following who will say, machines are bad for you. You shouldn't train with machines ever. Only free weight squat, only dumbbells, right? That, in my opinion at least, is the wrong message to give, because we can get lots of good adaptations from machine, isolated muscles. My like kind of thing that I talk about a lot with this is the leg extension. Why is the leg extension the number one exercise in return to play for ACL? But then all of a sudden when it comes to performance, it's not important anymore.
Makes no sense.
It's great for developing quad strength when someone's injured, but it's not great for developing quad strength when someone's performing. Like, that doesn't add up for me, just because it's a machine. So again, that was a little bit of a digress like moment there.
That's not a quote unquote like sexy exercise, right? Millions of people have seen that exercise probably, right? But like, they don't see the benefit and how you can manipulate that in many different aspects of that exercise, right?
For sure. And one other thing with that, the only downside is you're training a team of 15 guys and you've got one leg extension. It's really hard to program it from a flow perspective.
Absolutely.
So free weights, are going to win there. But if you've got a few guys that like you identify need some quad development, you could easily superset it in, put it in a program, or create stations. There's a lot of different coaching ways and methodologies for us to be able to do it. But I see that as used as an excuse quite a lot, like against machines. Mm-hmm. They're big, they take up a lot of space in the weight room, and the effectiveness of them, we make it sound like machines have to be so much more superior for the justifying the surface area and the square footage that they take up in a gym. So people will be like, well, you can still get the same adaptations with free weights, right? So it's kind of like, I'm there, but like some people will make it sound like machines are way, way down here, which is not true. So that's where like I kind of draw the line, is like they're probably equivalent. Machines might get you a little bit better isolation. But that's, again, the power of social media and using the message, right? Like, I'll always try and push that message. There's other people out there with 70K followers who will say the complete opposite to me and say I'm a fraud.
Sure. And I think I wholeheartedly, I love machines, as you can see on my Instagram posts too as well, at this point, where it's like, if I can remove skill and ramp up intensity and load, what else do I need? And I'm training locally, so especially where you're talking about your pro athletes, locally training is probably going to be more of a focus of yours because their experience level, their age, and what they kind of need, right?
I think, honestly, the stability demand, that kind of mantra of we need stability in our exercise, you know what I mean? The challenge of like a single leg RDL, right? Like, oh, there's a lot of stability demand there. I think that is more overhyped because we don't really have that much evidence to show that it transfers directly to performance things, especially when it comes to like team sports. So the best person who does a single leg RDL might not be the best basketball or whatever, right? So
never had that.
Let's get like that out of the way. But it's like, I think we overhype it because then again, I'm thinking, well, what is the reason why you're doing the exercise? What is the adaptation you're trying to get? Eccentric hamstring strength? You could quite easily get somebody to do a leg curl, which was then everyone's, oh my God, you can't do leg curls because that damages hamstrings and you can't sprint and all that kind of stuff. But then single leg RDLs are the answer. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, it places the hamstring over a longer length. It doesn't just develop the knee base one, like the distal portion. And that's where it's kind of like, I sit there and I think about those things and I'm like, I don't think that your belief in those effects are actually reflecting in the true performance changes, like kind of thing. I'm all for machines. I'm all for just using the right tool for the right situation. You got a guy coming in post game and they want to do a little bit of a lift. A machine-based exercise is just as equally as potent as any free weight exercise, in my opinion, with that.
Isometrics.
Doing isos, yeah, different contraction types. Maybe we take the eccentrics out of it completely, like a trap bar deadlift. A great way to get some concentric work in. You drop the bar, you don't even have to do an eccentric. Maybe you put the eccentrics in somewhere else. Like, that's the beauty of coaching and experimenting. And we kind of talked about the using social media and the inspiration, but also that's the little flavor that you've got to bring in, because every program you got to evaluate, like, did that work? Did that not work? Over time. But if you don't set the goals of what the program is, you just pick an exercise as, like you said, like a fitness influencer, personal trainer. Anybody can go and write a program. Shit, we're going to get ChatGPT to write us a program, right? So, like, we're going to see how that goes. So anybody can write a program, but where the real experience comes in is
now,
knowledge.
To transition a bit with programming methods, do you think that the newer coaches that are coming into strength and conditioning are not seeing like those old like T-Nation posts and like Cal Dietz's like triphasic work? Or like, are we still like giving them that education as coaches? Interns that are at colleges and GAs, and like, are they still able to pick up on those methods like we did when we first started?
That's a really good question. And I think probably, if I had to guess, it's just people are gravitating to whoever's got the most followers, because they'll assume that they're an expert in that area. And so some people, again, like we've said, have good following because they're really good at creating hooks and controversial topics. And some have really good video content and things like that. So, I mean, the information is out there, but my worry is with the information. It's again, if I read a T-Nation article, I'm not taking it as gospel because whoever wrote it, right? Like, I'm thinking critically about it. And maybe I'll play around with it if it's like an exercise recommendation or a program or some adaptation. I'll personally try it out always first. And then I'll be like, can I put this in with my athletes? And there's like some good people. Vernon Griffith, for example, kind of a bit more mobility type guy, went crazy with the hips, right? Like, some of his work I think is really, really good. But it's like, now I think we've overhyped it again, where it's like everybody's doing hip cars, rotations, the hip extensions. They're in the, you know what I mean? They're doing hip flexor work and all these different crazy positions. And it's just like, does that do anything more than just like squatting and doing some deadlifts? And the reason why I say that is because I actually did this with an athlete where one of our younger coaches was worried that you'll lose internal rotation by doing a hip hinge pattern. And I was like, actually, I think we'll gain hip internal rotation by doing this. The hips will feel a little bit warmer. If you think about when we test internal rotation, typically we go into hip flexion and then we rotate, right? So it's kind of like that pattern. And so we did it. We tested it out. We tested the internal rotation pre. we did hip hinge and then we tested it post, right? And all of a sudden, it was like, oh, his internal rotation improved 5-6 degrees pre to post. So the hip hinge helped by doing that. Now, could we have spent our time doing hip cars and everything else, 5-6 minutes of hip cars and all that other stuff? Probably didn't need it because the RDL got the job done for us. So we got load in and we improved mobility. Tick 2 boxes, right? But that young coach had seen somebody else post about this and be like, yeah, you're definitely going to impinge hip internal rotation. So you're best off doing an exercise after that that restores that quality. And I'm kind of like, I've never done that. So again, just little things like that where I think we can misinterpret things, but you have to go and investigate is my point there. Test, retest, assessment, go and figure it out for yourself. Because what works in your environment might not work in mine and might not work in somebody else's. And that can equally mean that it could work as well, kind of thing.
Sure.
If
and
we do try it out.
Logistics and strength and conditioning plays a huge key, right? Just like piggybacking off what you just said. I think it's crucial because depending on how many athletes you have at a certain time, what your weight room looks like, where your weight room is in your building, I'm talking from a basketball set mindset, right? Like from our court is on the roof, right? The 3rd floor, and the weight room's in the basement. So I kind of have to coordinate these things through time and schedule these things. So pre and post lift are going to look a little bit different. So, and how many guys are coming in, right? So your programming's got to be a little bit different.
Yeah. But what do we think is kind of like with the social media theme? What do we think is the stuff that drives you crazy with social media? Like what actually gets you riled up? I know you said that you scroll past it, but there has to be the one thing. There has to be something that riles you up.
I agree with what you said before. It's the exercise, or it's just weird how the algorithm works on Instagram, right? You can completely, like I posted something about like calf raises on the court, the most general, easy shit you could do, right? That everyone has probably seen before, most people. And I get more views than something that I worked on and gave a little bit more time on and gave a little bit more educational background on. Nobody gave a shit. Right? So it's like, I could speak from that aspect, and then you watch somebody else, but I don't know. I don't really, it's hard for me to express what.
No, I was just going to say, there's nothing worse.
Like strength and conditioning coaches that have never worked in strength and conditioning ever. And they say strength training, strength and conditioning. You have no idea what that even means because you've never worked in that team environment.
Everyone's got an opinion these days, right? And it's like, some people haven't lived the experience, but yeah, nothing's worse than writing or creating a post and then it flops. You've spent all this time and effort creating a post, but like we said the other episode, if you've affected one person or 1%, you've done your job on that one. But it's funny, how the random posts and stuff. The thing that is honestly riling me up with social media is this like whole science-based lifting community thing that's like a thing. And talking of algorithms, these are kind of the posts that pop up on my page quite a lot. And it's like a kid who might be between 18 and 22, so either in college, maybe doing kinesiology, whatever they're doing, right? And then it's like, most effective workout, 1 set a week, chest, 1 set exercises, per session, 1 set of bench, do that 3 times a week and you'll get muscle growth. And I'm like, adding this up in my head, I'm like, so you're hitting 3 sets a week and you think you're going to maximize your growth for that muscle. And then they'll kind of try and regurgitate an article that like a Brad Schoenfeld's group's done or somewhere else where it's like, well, this meta-analysis says if you don't have time to train, just get 1 set in and it can still be an effective dose. And I'm like, minimal effective dose, right? And so it's like 3 sets. My chest isn't growing if I only do 3 sets of bench a week. No way. Like, I'm so accommodated to greater loads. And so it's these young coaches who like have fucking no experience at all, no training experience. And like, yeah, I'm getting growth off 3 sets a week. Yeah, no shit. Because it's a novel stimulus. In them first 5 years of training, everybody adapts. All roads lead to Rome. You'll adapt off 10 by 10. You'll adapt off 3 by 10. You'll adapt off 3 by 1. The amount of adaptation is the thing that like will change, right? So that's the thing that's riling me up at the moment is like this like science-based lifting and kids who have never read a friggin' research paper or wouldn't even know where to start with a research paper. And then they'll comment on my shit. somebody made a comment on one of my TikTok posts. They'll let anybody be a PT these days. And I'm like, motherfucker, I have a PhD. I've coached in the NBA. I've been coaching for almost 15 years now. I've coached in 2 different professional leagues in 2 different countries. Like, and you're gonna like say they'll give anybody a personal training degree? Who is this motherfucker? Like, so it's like, how does that? How are people out there like that? Right? So that's where it's like I get riled up on that because I'm like I responded nicely, but you think you know more than me? And it's like, well, I'm bigger than you. Well, thank God for your genetics, you know what I mean? And I wanted to reply like, well, actually, you're fatter than me. Like, it's not that you're bigger than me or stronger than me. You're fatter than me. But anyway.
Well, my thing is here, our athletes aside, why are we okay with the minimum effective dose? Why? Because you're not providing a stimulus for yourself to grow, right?
It's an excuse for people who don't like to train. That is honestly what I believe it to be.
It's lazy.
Like people will call it's training residuals. I used to speak to a couple of coaches and be like, oh yeah, training residuals. And they're good guys and they know what they're talking about in terms of like training. But it's an excuse for laziness, right? You're training residuals. Oh, I haven't had a chance to train for a few days. I've got training residuals. Like, it's the same thing with the minimal effective dose. Sure, you're getting something, right? It's like going to the bar and you're taking 2 sips of beer. That might be the minimal effective dose to give you a little bit of a buzz, right? But if you pound 20 pints, you're going to be fucked. Yeah. So it's kind of like, it's sort of like exercise. There's somewhere in the middle there where it's like you're going to have a really good night out and you're not going to black out. But one little drink isn't going to give you enough Dutch courage to go and talk to a girl in the bar or whatever you're going to do, your significant other. You know what I mean? Like, go get up on the dance floor. 3 or 4, I'm probably getting up onto the dance floor and dancing, right? And so it's kind of similar with exercise. There's going to be a range somewhere, and for those individuals, it's going to change. But 3 sets in a week for me is just not like enough. If somebody's in season and they're playing 4 games in 5 days, for sure. And even then, might not even bother doing 3 sets. It might be ISOs, it might be something else. But yeah, the minimal effective dose, I think that is like the most abused topic. The only other thing that I think is abused, and it's kind of the similar thing, is microdosing, and they're trying to separate those 2 things. Like, and it's like, isn't the whole point of microdosing to be the minimal effective dose? But they're trying to make those 2 things different. All right, so we just ranted a little bit there, but what's one piece of advice that you would give to coaches trying to build their presence, but without losing themselves in all of the noise of social media?
Don't spend more than 20 minutes on a post. Be consistent, but don't spend more than 20 minutes on a post. And prepare about what you want to talk about. Write things down, write them on a notepad. You have some downtime on a Sunday or whenever that is, jot some ideas down, and just when you're training, record the video. Incorporate what you're going to talk about in your training. That's what it should be. So it's not that difficult, right? Like I was doing a little bit of exploring the other day, like I really love that TRX pull up and coming down, like with the assistance. For me, that felt fantastic. And so now I'm in this kick of like training really slow, right? And the pumps that I got are massive. It turned from a warm up into an actual workout. So for me, I think continue to do your why. Like, why do you do this? What do you want to get out of this? Right. And I think my thing is just to be open and educate if I can, help somebody, maybe a basketball player, and just kind of showcasing like who you are. What do you like? You're going to have some biases and that's okay. All the other noise, there's a great button called block. If you need it, you use it. Right. But I don't have much of a following where I haven't dealt with that stuff, right? Maybe yet. I don't know. But somebody might not like it. Then don't follow me. I don't know what to tell you. If you're spending time on a page you don't like, then what are you doing? What's wrong in your life, right? Yeah. So for me...
Go and drink the haterade somewhere else.
Exactly. Like, there's just too much... There's not enough time in a day, really. So, like, why waste it on something that you don't like? Just move on, man. But I'd say that the 20-minute piece, I think, is solid.
Yeah, don't spend all your day creating content, and like unless your full-time job is content creation, then sure, spend more time on it. But if you are trying to coach and be an S&C and things, content should be the secondary thing, not the primary thing in your day. What I would say to add to that is don't believe the algorithm in a sense. Like there's all this information like you got to post daily, you got to post 3 times a day, you've got to do this, you got to do that. And like everybody friggin' there's Instagram coaches now that like teach you how to post and all this kind of stuff. And one thing that I've learned so far in terms of, again, I don't have millions of thousands of followers or anything like that, but like recently I've been posting less and somehow gaining more followers than when I was posting 2-3 times a day. So it's more about just kind of the content and the authenticity of content and the value of the content versus like just pumping posts out to get posts out. You're not getting rewarded for shitty posts. It's the engagement time. It's, are people liking it? Are people sharing it? And people are going to share more value posts. So again, depending on what you're trying to achieve with it, like if you're trying to educate others, obviously you've got to give value in the educational content. If it's just more so inspiration, whatever it is. But I don't think you need to feel the pressure to post every single day, as long as you're posting consistently. Like, don't go post and then 2 months later try and post again. You'll never build a presence there. But yeah, I think people get bogged down in the whole like have to post. It's like you could post twice the next day if you missed your opportunity today to post, kind of thing.
It's all in your preparation, right? The preparation is going to cause these things to even save yourself time, right? Within the post, like you could turn one workout into 3 posts if you really want to, and just talk about exercises.
Exactly.
You just have to have a reason why you're doing it, and you might impact somebody. That it could be the most basic thing, like my post today. I just enjoy doing it. Like I like being on the camera now, and just seeing how my training is going. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, don't waste all your day on it, right? But like if you have an opportunity and you can get a post out and you think that it's useful, post it. That's where, again, everybody follow me on TikTok, because I'm more so posting daily there just because of my daily workouts and some reflections, and I try and engage with people as well to give some back to them. So I'm a little bit more active over there than I am on Instagram, but then I'll carry over those posts sometimes and stuff as well. So I don't think people should feel the need of pressure to post. And also my other last little nugget of advice is don't like expect that you're going to become an influencer overnight, right? Like we're trying to do our thing, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'd love to have tens of thousands of followers and really impact people's lives. But I want to impact people's lives. That's my main goal. It's not about the following. It's about the impact. So starting there with genuine intentions as well is kind of like how I would finish that bit off.
And to start, I mean, to piggyback off of you just got to start.
Do something.
Just start and just give it a try. And try and be as consistent as you can. And don't look for anything in return, right?
People say find your niche, right? And I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Because it's like, what is my niche? Is it exercise videos? Is it bodybuilding? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, is it sports science? I'm still trying to discover my niche.
I think the niche is you, right? It's who you are. It's what your interest. It's you allowing other people to see what you're doing, basically.
All right. So we're getting about on that time to wrap things up. So if there's any last pieces of advice that you'd give, shout them out now, Justin.
I think I said my piece. Be consistent. Be careful who you're following, right? And you're trying to replicate. Do some of your own research. Don't overthink it. It's not that deep.
Yeah. And because we're on the theme of social media, make sure you follow both myself and Justin Ray, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever platform. Obviously, you'll be listening to us on different sites. So also make sure you're liking, subscribing, giving us 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever we can get, because we want to keep growing this podcast and this channel, giving back to you guys, making value, and we appreciate all of the support. And for everybody who tuning in, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Rep some real talk, baby. It's been another real one.
It's been another real one, baby. Great episodes to come. New people are going to be on.
What have we got in the future? Give us a quick, brief synopsis of what we got coming in the future.
We are going to talk about another topic. AI involved, right? ChatGPT.
Yeah.
These are things we're using, man. And then we're going to get some really solid professionals on here, and just so people don't have to hear you and I talk on every episode,
Absolutely.
Right? So we're going to get some really good guests, and we're excited for you guys to dive in with us.
So if you're listening to this and you want to potentially feature as a guest on the show, make sure you hit us up, and maybe we can get you on as well.